like I said, I'm Eric, and my wife, Leah, and I have been going here. It's easy to remember because we started attending Cornerstone a few months before our twins were born, and now Sam and Maggie are 18. So we've been here about 18 and a half years, calling this our church home. This gym and the classrooms down the hall played a huge role in my not only my life, my whole family's life. This is where my kids went to tater tots and Sunday school, kids club, learning about the Bible, God, and a personal relationship with Jesus, and I'm really thankful for this family. This also happens to be the place where on a rainy afternoon, I would hang out here during recess because I am a Powell Valley Panther graduate. So it's kind of weird. I remember coming back for the first time back to the bathroom. I was like, oh, it's been a while since I was last here. This year happens to be a pretty big one in our household, marked with many important occasions. As two of my kids, they're not here today, so hopefully it'll be easier to talk about. They'll be graduating. No, it's still hard. They're going to be graduating from high school. And, one of those actually was this weekend with, we call him Coach John in the swim season, but Coach John Rasmussen, who did the opener, was with our kids for the state swim meet this last 2 days, which was a lot of fun to kind of have that experience. So we're experiencing a lot of laughs this school year. We're also in the throes of some new beginnings as well in our family. My in-laws have moved close by, which has been wonderful to have them close by just to pop in and just to spend short little snippets of time with them pretty much every day or every other day, which is great. We also got ourselves a puppy 3 weeks ago. So those of you that have ever raised a puppy, you know the struggle is real. Some days, there's parts of me that are like, when is this day going to be over? Knowing that it's going to start really early the next day. But at the same time, I also find it hard to believe we're already approaching spring. I'm 44, and after 40 plus years, I still find myself constantly vacillating between moments when time just seems like it just cannot pass quickly enough, and other times when I feel like it's passing by in the blink of an eye. And so I guess we can all relate to this in some way. So maybe one of these will resonate with you. Take, for example, counting down the days until summer vacation to finally arrive. Or maybe it's Christmas break. Or maybe you're a mom and it's in mid-August and you're counting down the days for school to finally begin. Time feels like it stands still sometimes. Maybe it's making it through your driver's ed class and finally getting your driver's license. Maybe it's waiting all week to go on your special date with your special someone that you've planned and you just can't wait for it to come. Maybe it's the last month, ladies, or more before your child is born, and that's a long month or 2 or 3. Maybe it's waiting for your big vacation that you've been planning, you've paid the deposit, you've anticipated. Those of you that are like the researchers, you have your lists and you know where you're going. The rest of us are just along for the ride. But we know that we're just waiting for it to finally happen. Could be waiting to get cleared by your doctor so you can just get out of the hospital already. Get back to your home, your own bed. Maybe it's waiting for the ice to melt enough you can actually leave the house, have some sort of human interaction. It just seems like sometimes time just comes to a standstill. In other moments, it feels like it flies by in a rush. For instance, maybe it's having your grandkids visit, whether it's for a day or the whole week. You're like, where did that just come from? Maybe it's remembering the days back when you were limber, you were mobile, you could go where you want, when you wanted. Maybe now, not so much. It's that vacation you finally got to take, only to realize, like, wow, it's over just like that. And you're glad you have the photos because you want something to remember those by. Maybe it's those days before kids, when you only had to cook and do laundry for yourself, or not. It's your choice. But those days back in the early years of school, elementary school, when relationships just seemed easy, they were simple. No one was judging you from time to time you could just have fun with your friends. There's moments when time just passes by way too fast. And on other occasions, not quickly enough. And if we're not aware, both of these things can breed discontent in our lives. Our fickle hearts wanting something maybe different than what God has planned for us. And this is not a new experience for us. We're not alone. Jesus' followers also had some issues with living in this dichotomy of time. In John 13, Peter wants to go with Jesus, wherever he's going. He doesn't understand that Jesus is going to die and come back to life. Jesus responds with, "You will come later." And then right then and there, he predicts Peter's denial, and it actually comes later that night. In the next chapter, in John 14, Jesus tells Philip, he's telling them these things so they may believe. "I am going away, but will come back again." You know, what timeline are the disciples thinking here? They're like, maybe a few weeks, maybe longer, Jesus? They're kind of ready to go with him right now. In Acts 1, Jesus is preparing to ascend into heaven after he's already appeared to all the disciples, and they ask him, "Lord, is it time for Israel to be restored?" And he responds with, "The Father alone has authority to know those dates and times, and they are not for you to know." Then he ascends, and these two guys in white, they come down and tell the whole crowd that one day he will return in the same way they saw him go. In Acts 1, a little bit later, Peter quotes prophecy. He says, "In the last days," God says, "I will pour out my spirit upon all people." Well, those last days started over 2,000 years ago, and that's a time distortion I'm guessing the early church was not prepared for. And yet, in God's wisdom, he even alluded to this in the Old Testament. In Ecclesiastes 3, Solomon writes, "Yet God has made everything beautiful for its own time. He's planted eternity in the human heart. But even so, people cannot see the whole scope of God's work from beginning to end." God knew we would struggle. We wouldn't be able to comprehend his timeline. And in his wisdom, he's given us the reminder of communion to tune both our minds and our hearts to focus on the eternity he's planted in our hearts. So I'm going to ask the servers to come on up. Hopefully there's some servers out there. As you're coming on up to pass the communion elements, I want all of us right now to take a deep breath, to be still, and to thank God for making a way for us to be in a right standing with him through Jesus. As they were eating, Jesus took some bread and he blessed it. Then he broke it in pieces and gave it to the disciples, saying, "Take this and eat it, for this is my body." And he took a cup of wine and gave thanks to God for it. He gave it to them and said, "Each of you drink from it, for this is my blood, which confirms the covenant between God and his people. It is poured out as a sacrifice to forgive the sins of many." Let's pray. Father, thank you that you make all things perfect in your time, even when we don't understand always. Thank you for sacrificing your son, Jesus, to bring us into relationship with you. Help us to remember to be still, to enjoy you and appreciate the seasons and situations you placed us in. It's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Thank you. If the ushers could come grab the offering baskets, we're also going to get those passed. And just a reminder, we pass these every week, and if you're visiting our church, there's no pressure to put anything in the baskets. A lot of people even give regularly online, but we do want to provide opportunity for anybody that has any gifts that they want to bring, just out of response and thankfulness to God to do so. And thank you for your time. I'm going to pass it over to Pastor Schuyler. Thanks.